Why don't you turn your competition only into a togetherness? And I feel society doesn't prepare them for those emotions.
So not initially do parents come to me, it's only when the damage is done.
There are going to be bouts of depression, bouts of self-doubt.
Very important is parental mental health. Mothers also and fathers also.
In every culture around the world, we sing to babies. So that is, I think, the best way for them to learn about communication, new words, what words mean, the emotional connect, etc.
All they need is their presence. Parent need to connect with the child.
How love.
If nothing a parent could give, at least give them your time.
So love.
An undisturbed time where it is only you and your child. Without phones.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Parenting Prep Podcast. And in this episode, we have with us a really wonderful and dynamic person. Her name is Tejashree Acharya. She is a child psychologist and a parenting mentor. I think every parent today needs a mentor. And I have seen her on Instagram, and I've seen the kind of things that she talks about. She is, I think, a must-have for every parent. Hello, Tejashree. Welcome to this episode.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction and with lots of appreciation. Thank you for giving me this space where we're talking about parenting and challenges and joyful things and
appreciates. And I've seen the work that you do. It is so amazing because I think parents today, more than anything, require a mentor because you can say that the families have become smaller. There are no in-laws around to help them, etc. So parents tend to have a lot of questions, a lot of anxieties, a lot of queries. And people like you are their go-to to get that sense of relief and that sense of support. So that's why kudos to what you do.
Thank you so much.
It's really wonderful. So tell me, since you are a parenting coach, you must be having a lot of new parents who come to you, right? And parents who have just become a mother or just become a father. And yeah, definitely the world tells you that you will be happy, you will be aesthetic when your child comes. But those are not the only emotions that parents feel. And I feel society doesn't prepare them for those emotions. So can you tell us more about that?
True, ma'am. So this is actually the real case. So not initially do parents come to me. It's only when the damage is done. And then they approach कि कुछ गड़बड़ है. But a lot of emotions, I would say, like it's just like a sunshine and storm together. Internally also, like as you mentioned, they live in a nuclear family without any support and a lot of judgments surrounding. So more of Googling happens, more of anxiety between the partners, what to do, how to do, overthinking, isolation, and constant guilt.
Yeah.
Am I able to do it? Or, am I doing it enough? Am I capable to cater to my child?
Absolutely. It starts with self-judgment and then others' comments.
A lot, ma'am.
So this is, I think we need to prepare parents to understand that it's not going to be all happy. There are going to be bouts of depression, bouts of self-doubt, that did I take the right decision? And many parents I have also noticed go through regret, that I shouldn't have had a child. Why did I have a child? So it's all normal part of the process. Do you see them with your help overcoming that?
Yes, ma'am, it does happen. So feelings like anxiety or regression or, I must not have had this baby or it's an extra responsibility does come into the picture after like 3 to 4 days of delivering a baby. Because let's understand that a mother is going through a lot of emotional changes, hormonal changes, physical body is healing. And then if it is for a week, it settles down, it calms down. But if it is a long, if it is constantly happening, then there is a need of therapy and counseling. So baby blues are different than postpartum depression. And it takes a long time and it takes courage
True.
Nowadays, there's a lot of awareness and people come up and approach, but still there are a lot of mothers who are suffering and they don't know why they're feeling so.
Absolutely. I think that's why you are that ray of hope for so many of them. And I would really urge to all the moms who are, after watching this, they should not hesitate and they should seek help if they feel that, yes, I need a mentor. I like the word mentor because that's exactly what it is, you know. People get scared the minute you say therapist ke paas jana hai, you know, and they say, no, no, it's not so wrong in me, you know. So I think it's very important to have a mentor, and especially one as so involved as you are and so well read as you are. What are the challenges that you feel parents face when they become first time parents and that they should not overlook?
Very important is parental mental health, both mothers also and fathers also, because they both have different set of responsibility, and somewhere they forget that they are couples and they are working towards the betterment of the child.
Okay.
And betterment of each other.
Right.
So they must not overlook their mental health, of course, ma'am, because all of these emotions will turn up and sum up to their mental health.
Right, right. Oh, that's so wonderful. You know, I used to be, I used to mentor a lot of parents, especially of our schools, when they become parents. And a couple came to me, and I must tell you about this. A couple came to me, and that they said, "Ma'am, we are both very competitive, and we end up criticizing each other कि तुमने ठीक से नहीं किया, तुमने ये नहीं किया, ये तुम्हारा duty था, ये मेरा नहीं था." So then I told them, I said, why don't you turn your competition only into a togetherness? So why don't you make a chart and who changed the nappy the most today, who stayed awake for longest on which day of the week, and they turned it into a game. And they came back after a few months and they said, "Ma'am, acha laga wo." Suddenly our problems became a game, and when we took it lightly, we started enjoying parenting. So I think that's what's required, isn't it?
That's the essence, ma'am. And parenting, fortunately, unfortunately, do not come with a manual. You need training and experience, and that's how you need someone.
Absolutely.
So initially we had family members, some elders who would guide us, but now I see that phase fading away.
Absolutely. And that's why I tell teachers, especially early childhood teachers, that when a child enrolls with you, it's not just your job to look after the child, you should also be looking after the parent, because you have the qualification of early childhood, child development, which the parent sadly does not. So when you tell a parent, don't discipline your child like this, they don't know the reason why. So explain to me the reason and I also will change, you know. True. So this is so amazing. Tell me, as a child psychologist, you must be encountering a lot of questions from parents, especially about my child is not speaking on time, or मेरा बच्चा बोलना ही नहीं सीखा है, कितने एज पे सीखना चाहिए, मुझे क्या करना चाहिए that my child starts learning to speak. So what advice would you give them?
Yes, ma'am. A lot of these things come in. There are some very curious parents who will directly go away to speech therapist, and there are some who will not go to a speech therapist, not come to anybody unless and until the child is going to the school and teachers have recommended them to, please go and see someone. So I would say communication starts at a very early age. So children first start with crying and then cooing and babbling. So these are all the initial step of language acquisition. So the more you interact, the more you bond with the child.
Yeah.
The more you give them those prompts, they emotionally connect. And neuroscience says that your left hemisphere is responsible and is taking care of your language. And the right hemisphere is seeing into tonality.
Okay.
So when they both come together, when parents start talking to children in an infant directed speech, ha ha, bachchu, kya kar rahi hai mama?
Okay.
They get connected. They give you attention at that point of time. So initially you can start with baby talks, but slowly and steadily you can definitely start with real words. Rather than saying doggy, we start saying dog. So that they learn real words and communicate better, having a strong vocabulary.
Right. I'm so glad you mentioned about the left brain and the right brain, because singing is something that brings the left and the right brain together,
True.
where the left listens to the words and the right listens to the rhythm. And that's why I think in every culture around the world, we sing to babies.
Yes.
So that is, I think, the best way for them to learn about communication, new words, what words mean, the emotional connect, etc. So I think this is very important. And I would also like to tell parents who are worried about their child not learning to talk. I had a niece. I have a niece, but when she didn't start speaking till she was 6 years old. And her mother used to get very upset that why. Now it was a mixed language marriage. So there were various languages being spoken in that house, and the babysitter used to use another language. This child was able to understand everything, will listen to every language and understand it. And when she turned 6, she started speaking 3 languages simultaneously, fluently. So I think people like you help parents understand when to worry and when not to worry, right?
Correct, ma'am. Children are like sponges.
Yeah.
Whatever you pour in, they're going to take it up. All positive, all negatives.
Absolutely.
So they will express it only at the right time or when there is the need.
Okay, I think that is what every parent should remember, and should understand before getting tense or pushing their child.
True.
Right. So you very rightly spoke about the different strengths of the left brain and the right brain. What else would you like parents to know about that?
So yes, a lot of things that very initially I'll start with. Children are born with, let's say, neurons, but just for an explanation, let's understand in a way that there are these small dots in the brain. We call it cells. Okay. And these cells, when they connect with each other, they create these healthy building neurons and neurotransmitters. Every experience you give to the child creates a connection. And every connection creates an integration of both the hemisphere together. So both the left side and the right side brain helps in different ways, and a lot of activities can stimulate these things.
Okay.
So and to know more about these activities, it's very important to understand that our brain has 3/4 of water. So hydration is something that we need to look into.
Okay.
Hydration, proper hydration, food, eating healthy food. These promotes connections that grow faster.
Oh.
Avoid junk food, no additives, because and control our salt and sugar because that disrupts the tension.
Absolutely.
Moreover, sleep. Good healthy sleep helps. Then having the exposure of positive emotions and building that gratitude in the house, giving them secured spaces.
No stress. Absolutely. Very well said, that these look like just healthy gems, that sleep hona chahiye, khana hona chahiye, theek, junk food mat khao. But at that age, they are all contributing to the child's growing brain. And I'm so happy that you spoke about additives, because research has proven now that all the packaged food, any food that comes in a package and says it's going to last longer, whether it's your juice or whether it's your milk or whatever, it contains additives. And additives are actually harmful in early childhood for the young child's growing brain. So I think parents listening to this must realize that the impact all this has on their child's growing brain.
Yes.
Absolutely.
True, ma'am.
Absolutely. Emotions is also something. When we talked about stress, we said that we have to keep children away from stress. And emotions are an everyday part of our life. We can't always be happy. There will be times when the mother feels frustrated or the father feels angry. So how do we teach children about emotions? Because in school, we do help them with emotional labeling. So what advice would you give parents?
Very well asked this question, because thank you, I would say, for asking this question, because a lot of concerns that come to me Some may be developmentally challenging issues, but a lot has got to do with emotions.
Okay.
And every emotion is connected to the behavior. So many a times how child behaves is because something is happening at the background, and there is a way the child's behavior is giving you a communication.
Okay.
So of course schools work on socio-emotional development, but parents aren't aware about all of these things. So I always recommend certain things is that start using emotional language at home.
Okay.
So when you're just telling or conversing with each other as partners also, just instead of saying I'm fine, I'll just manage, try saying I am tired. Maybe after completing the work, I'll go for a walk and I might feel better.
Okay.
Have flashcards at home with real people rather than having emoticons on it. So children can see that.
So they can understand what an emotion looks like.
Correct.
Okay.
Correlate it with your stories that is happen, that you do it during the night time, during play. Like, what do you think the little bear must be thinking right now? Or how would he feeling without his mom or dad?
Okay.
Integrating it. Apart from that, daily check-in. How was your day today? Or what made you happy? Was there something that made you feel upset?
Right.
So the more you give them those emotional vocabulary, the more they understand. So when you name the feeling, it tames.
Absolutely. I loved one thing that you said. Don't use emojis.
How?
We've become a generation that just uses emojis for everything. I was just thinking yesterday also, somebody sent me such a heartfelt message, and what did I send them? I send them that emoji that does that hug and that emoji that has a lot of kisses. And then after sending it, I felt this lady took out time to write 15 lines to me. And what did I just reduce it to? I just reduced it to 2 emojis. And especially where children are concerned, when you said that don't use emojis, use real expressions. I think this is a very important point for parents to understand. And I think those who are listening to this particular episode, if you just type emotions, we will send you an emotional sheet that you should be showing children. That children need to understand the context of that emotion and how it feels on a human face.
True, ma'am. Very true.
When we show them an emoji of happy or of sad, it turns emotions into cartoons. It's just something to be used as fun, but when you show them a face of a person who's going through pain, or a person who's angry, or a person who's happy, you are actually making an emotional connect. And I'm so happy you said that, because I think schools also should move away from using emojis to teach about emotions. I think we should be using real pictures of human emotions if we want children to actually have empathy.
Correct, ma'am, because that is how they connect.
Yeah.
Because, we all understand that at least in India or wherever, universally, if you smile, it means that it's a happy sign. Now, if there is this smiley face, how is the child going to connect? And children connect where there are humans. Children connect with people, with touch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also tell this to schools that when you are teaching emotions, don't use emojis. Many of them, while teaching emotions, say match the emojis. That's not the first way. We had a lifetime to understand about emotions, facial expressions, and then emojis entered our life. Now it's the other way around. There are no emotions, no facial expressions. Emojis are straight away entering a child's life. And I think that also has a lot to do with behavioral issues that we are seeing, or the lack of empathy that we are seeing
And
in
that
children.
we see it towards the adolescent,
Yeah.
towards the teenage.
Because foundation ही नहीं दिया.
Exactly. And then we complain, don't he feel kind, or how he feel sad about this?
Yeah.
How can he say this to someone elder?
Exactly.
But he not instill it.
Absolutely. We reduce their whole emotional makeup to an emoji. I'm so happy you said that. Tell me, what kind of other important issues do parents come to you with?
A lot, ma'am. So if I have to categorize, it's the emotional issues, it's somewhere behavioral, it's clinical, a lot of mental health conditions that I see. So because the lifestyle of parents is such, and the food that they give to the children contribute to all the different conditions.
Yeah.
Apart from that, something happening at the family background, school related issues, children not being able to connect, IQ issues. Apart from this thing, speech or a language used in school is different than the language used at home.
Right.
So there won't be any problem with the child, but the child is not able to understand what the teacher is trying to teach.
True.
And we simply say that the child is not interactive, or the child doesn't know, the child is not following instructions. And some very good parents come seeking answers, what may have gone wrong, what is it, why is my child not responding. Some are least bothered, and no matter how much we go there and we understand the parent, that this is genuinely what I feel, there is a need, we need to introspect, we need to see in different dimensions. But the awareness is still a concern.
I'm so glad you asked that parents come to you about school issues also. I'm very curious to know about this because many parents, especially in India, don't understand the importance of early childhood education. And I'm so glad the National Education Policy now includes 3 to 6 years as part of the education system. A lot of people feel that you are pushing children too early, without realizing that it's not the age at which a child joins a preschool that's bad. It is what the child is exposed to at that age by that preschool which is wrong. And so because of some schools pushing addition and subtraction too early on children, or share karo when the child is not ready for social development, then the child faces issues in schools, and then a doctor says, school bhejna band kar do. Koi zarurat nahi hai. So where do you stand on this?
So, ma'am, I would like to relate to this very well, because I have seen that coming, and a lot of them, have this concern that my child is all good at home, talks to everybody, but when he goes to school, he doesn't talk to anyone. He does not talk to teachers, he does not make friends. This is one thing. Second thing, the child continuously fidgets or will continuously keep around moving without understanding that it is also depending on the age, the impulse control, the executive functioning of the brain. But the whole idea is, if my child is going to school,
अभी उसको behave करना पड़ेगा.
हाँ, and वो पढ़ाई करके आना चाहिए.
Also, I feel sometimes teachers who are not trained, they end up complaining to parents that आपका बच्चा बैठता नहीं है. And when these parents come to me and I say, how old is your child? And the child says 3 years. I said, 3 साल का बच्चा कैसे बैठेगा? How do you expect the child to sit? So it is very important, I feel, that parents, teachers, all understand the importance of the early years, especially early childhood education, because a lot of the skills, life skills taught, start from there. And because of a wrong preschool or a wrong teacher, we can't take away this right from every child. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree to this thing. And I have seen this in my personal sessions also. So I would like to share one case here, wherein I was called to a school, and they said, please come and visit us, because we feel that our school, we take admissions early and we see a lot of mental health challenges. So is it okay for you to take group therapy? I was thinking that it could be for teenage years or maybe a common concern.
Right.
When I went there, it was for nursery section.
Oh my God, a group therapy.
Group therapy for nursery section.
Oh my God.
After understanding, so I did not ask anything, which I think it was my mistake. I went there, I just observed the classrooms, and the moment I step into the class, the teacher is saying, isko problem hai, isko. ये घूम घूम करता रहता है, ये किसी का सुनता नहीं है.
Oh my.
ये इसकी मम्मी घर पे डांटती है ना, इसलिए ये घर पे कुछ बोलती नहीं है, स्कूल में कुछ बात नहीं करती है किसी के साथ. And they all started complaining
about the child in front of the child.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Then I asked the teachers, may I please know what is the age of the child? So the teacher is telling me, अगर ये नर्सरी में है तो इसको expected है कि इसको ये करना है. Like, ma'am, it doesn't work like that.
Exactly. This is what I said, no? Untrained teachers. They are the root cause of the whole problem.
And in the same section, a different division, the teacher was very kind, very supportive. And these
the children would be behaving very well in that class.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And these children who are trained with these kind of teachers later on also face a lot of challenges.
Because it's become so grounded in them that this is how adults are reacting to me. So this is how my behavior will be then to everybody.
Correct.
So absolutely. I'm so happy you raised this because that's the importance of a good teacher, a trained teacher.
And I would say that we always tell parents to connect with children, to give them that same space. But what about teachers?
Absolutely.
If teachers are connected very well with children,
Absolutely.
if there is a bond of love, securement, by this I don't mean that teacher must cuddle and
Yeah.
pick up the child.
She should be understanding. She should know what to expect from what age.
Exactly.
And I think this is why Podar has a teacher training qualification. It's called the Podar Institute of Education. And not many people know this, but it is mandatory for every teacher whom we appoint at Podar Prep to do this 1-year qualification. So that even if you come without a qualification, you will ensure that you get this 1-year qualification, because we are so convinced about that it's the teacher who has the maximum impact on a child.
True.
So if it's a preschool, it's the teacher's qualification. And I would tell this to all our listeners, always ask for your child's teacher's qualification. More than anything else, don't worry about the toys in the classroom or what is the curriculum or whatever it is. I think it's the teacher qualification that makes all the difference.
Yes, definitely, ma'am. And experience also matters.
Yes.
Because it's not that a teacher coming from an institute will suddenly be master of all.
She should have had an internship also.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely. That would be an add-on.
Yes. Theory and internship ka, practical ka, in combination hona chahiye.
For some school, if that's not possible, because there are schools working on low budget, certainly, at least they should have a trained teacher along with
an you can always
have teachers being trained under an
absolutely. And again, experience in number of years is not experience. Experience of how to handle children correctly is experience. I am so happy you said this, because there's always this a tug of war between doctors and preschools. As soon as the child faces some problem in a preschool, the doctor says usko bhejna band kar do. But the same problem that he faced now, he is going to face later also. Why don't we go to the root of the problem? I'm so happy you said that. So, are there any other issues like discipline issues that parents come to you with? Are they able to handle discipline issues in children?
Some yes, some no. Because discipline is something that in some family, it is considered as value. In some, it is like pampering.
Okay.
And sometimes parents can't go against the elders. So they know that the children are going in a wrong direction. They know the children are misbehaving, but they can't do much about it.
Okay.
It is only when the misbehavior is taken a wrong track when they come and approach. So issues like hitting or issues like lying, stealing, all of these come in. And aggressiveness, defiant behavior. Only when it is extreme, they reach out to a psychologist or a counselor.
Okay. So I think, Tejashree, it is so important for parents when they enroll their children to school to understand that every child will not be the same. I think it's when they start comparing, मेरा बच्चा बोलता है, उसका बच्चा नहीं बोलता है, मेरा बच्चा चुप रहता है, वो स्कूल में कुछ भी नहीं बोलता. I think when they start comparing all these issues about language and all, I think the problem starts there, right?
Yes, ma'am. And that's when the concerns and the challenges come.
Absolutely.
But ma'am, I would like to know, how does Podar Prep helps in language development?
Okay. I'm so glad you asked that question. At Podar, some of our schools start with play school, and some of them start with nursery. So you have children as young as 3 years who are coming to the classroom. It is very important that our teachers are trained in understanding what the NEP talks about when it comes to language development. So we have something called a language chart. okay, which is put in every classroom, and it's made as per the needs of the children of that class. Now, what is it? It's basically you will be having a child who's a Punjabi, who's a Bengali, who is a Gujarati, and who is a Marathi, right? Maharashtrian. You have all these children in your class. Now, they're coming to you without knowledge of English language. If you are going to speak only in English, they are not going to have that connect with you, and they are then going to feel left out. So, what we have done is we have taken simple common terms or common words that a child usually needs, like I want to drink water, or I want to go to the washroom, or sit down, or come here, or open your snack box. We've taken all these terms, and then the teacher will put it in Punjabi, in Marathi, in Bengali, in Gujarati, and she will put it up so that she can read it. Now she knows that Yash is a Gujarati child, and I want to tell Yash, Yash, I want you to go to the bathroom with me. So now she reads कि गुजराती में ये कैसे बोलते हैं.
Correct.
So it's written there. So now Yash feels a connect to her, because my teacher spoke to me in my language.
Exactly.
Even in our form, the parent form that the parent fills, we ask the parent for these kind of details. Then what does your child say when he wants to go to the washroom? What does your child say when he is upset, or when he wants to go home, or what is his pet name, etc. Because when the teacher has the language to speak to the child and connect to the child in what the child is comfortable with, your brain automatically calms down. And now your child's brain is ready to learn from this person, is ready to connect with this person. So a lot of schools, when you ask them language development के लिए क्या करते हो, and they'll say phonics करते हैं. Phonics comes much later. First comes this communication. So if you see our NEP also, it says communication and language, and then language and literacy. So that's exactly what we do at Podar Prep when it comes to language development. You have to be very, very careful about how children connect with you.
So well put up, ma'am, because this is exactly what I was trying to say. Because unless and until a child is not emotionally connected to that
Exactly.
educator, how is the child be open for learning?
Absolutely.
There are so many skills that, through playway method or through some of the other activities an educator puts in, but all of that comes later.
Yes.
And the children will only respond if they are emotionally attached.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, ma'am, when we're talking about left brain and right brain from a psychological perspective, do we take into consideration in schools, or do we plan activities as per the functions of those hemisphere, and how do we inculcate them in Podar Prep?
So, at Podar Prep, every teacher is called a brain builder. So, we've stopped calling them teachers and we call them brain builders, so that they understand their responsibility, that they are actually the ones who are helping the child's brain develop. Now, we also teach them very simple facts about the left brain and the right brain. Two very important facts are that the right brain is in charge of long-term memory, and the right brain learns through songs, stories, and games. The left brain is in charge of short-term memory, and the left brain is very logical. So it will learn through logical activities like questioning, etc. So now this knowledge prepares the teacher to understand why are there game, songs, and stories. So when a parent comes to them and says, "Baju wala school to itna likhne ko bolta hai, they have so many books, they have so many worksheets, why don't you have them?" This is the time for that teacher to educate the parent and say, because right now your child's brain requires game, songs, and stories. And I am teaching the same thing, but not in the form of a worksheet, but in a form of a game, song, and story, because it will go in your child's right brain, which is in charge of long-term memory. It also makes these teachers more patient when a child asks them questions. When we tell a child, don't sit here, their first question is, "Kyun?" And a teacher says, "Because I said so." But if at that time you give the right answer to the child, because udhar baithoge to gir jaoge, that will help their left brain understand it much better, because the left brain is logical. So when you train teachers to understand there is something called a left brain, there is something called a right brain, and all these practices that you are doing in the class are actually connected to these two. Now, when this teacher is educated and she's able to understand, and last, when she's able to communicate it to a parent, think of how much knowledge that parent then gets about what to do with the child at home. So I think it starts with baby steps, and I think it all comes around full circle once both parent and teacher understand it. And I think it's people like you, child specialists like you, who help a parent understand the point of view of the child and what should be done in every aspect of their day. So, what message would you like to give to the parents who are listening to this episode?
So, message I would like to say that children don't need expensive toys or, strategy or planned activities and worksheets and all of those things. All they need is their presence. Parent need to connect with the child. If nothing a parent could give, at least give them your time.
So lovely.
An undisturbed time where it is only you and your child without phones.
You said that right thing. We don't need that third parent in the middle. We need two parents and no phones. That's wonderful. I think thank you so much for being with us here today. And I'm sure a lot of your points are such that are going to help not only new parents, but also those parents whose children are now toddlers or young children. And they're all going to be really benefited by the points that you put across. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you.
So thank you so much for being with us here today. And to all the parents who are listening to us, you have to do 4 things. Please like, please comment, please share, and please subscribe.